Hello book nerds, welcome to Bookshelf Bunny. I'm Kim and today we'll be doing a June wrap-up and July TBR. June was kind of a slow reading month for me. I only got 4 books down. So I decided that I'm going to combine my June TBR with my July wrap-up this time, just so that I have enough to talk about. So in June, I sort of tried to focus on cleaning up my reading list in Goodreads. There's a bunch of things in there that have been in there for months and months and months, and I just really wanted to, focus on those. So I did read a few of those. I managed to get through a couple. I read The Witches by Stacy Schiff. And this was a historical retelling of the Salem witch trials. She writes with lots of wit and some seriously biting humor while recounting the history surrounding the Salem witch trials. And she pulls from as much of the material as she can find, but she does comment that a lot of it's incomplete, biased, or written after the fact. So she pulled it together as best she could and tried to give us a picture of the events leading up to the incidents and the events afterwards. It was a really interesting read. I highly recommend you check it out. I also read Sabriel by Garth Nix for the Whatever You Want-a-thon. And this was a reread for me. It's a fantasy story, sort of a fantasy coming-of-age story. Our protagonist, Sabriel, she embarks on a journey which inevitably leads to her learning how to fulfill her father's footsteps. I read Hatchet by Gary Paulson for my June's Read Harder Reading Log Challenge, which was to reread a book from school. And I read this one when I was in grade 5, and it's really stuck with me ever since. It's sort of stayed in my brain. I have a lot of vivid memories of this book. Really good story. It's a survival story about a boy who's in a plane crash. He survives the plane crash only to be stranded in the Canadian wilderness and have to survive with nothing but the windbreaker on his back and his hatchet. So if you are a fan of survival stories, definitely pick up Hatchet. And lastly, I read The Outsider by Stephen King, and this is sort of a murder mystery with a supernatural twist. And I don't really want to share much more than that, otherwise I might give spoilers. So I'm just going to tell you have to read it. I'm super excited that now I can watch the series on Crave, so that's my next binge watch. And for my July TBR, I'm going to keep my focus on cleaning up my Goodreads reading list. So the books that I had hoped to get to in June and didn't. Those include Scottish folk tales. I'm a sucker for mythology and folk tales. I really enjoy them. My husband picked up this one for me at Folk Fest one year. And Folk Fest, if you're not familiar, is something that certain cities in Canada, maybe the States, don't know, but definitely Canada, will put on this big event where throughout the city there's different pavilions, and each pavilion focuses on a different culture group. My husband grabbed me this one from the Scottish pavilion. So I'm really excited to finally get to that. Hopefully I'm able to finish it this month. I also want to read Priory of the Orange Tree. That's been on my TBR for some time. The Silmarillion by Tolkien. I have been trying to get through this one. I really hope this month is the month I can finally wrap that up and finish it. It's really interesting. I like the folklore and the sort of expanded history of Middle-earth and the rest of Tolkien's world, but it's a heavy read. It's slow going, it's a little bit of a slog. I like it, but it's a tough one to get through. So hopefully. And the other one I want to get to is Anxious People. Still haven't read it, really want to read it. So hopefully we do that. I did borrow from my library. I had a copy on hold for Agatha Christie's Orient Express. And now my hold is finally available. So I have to read that one this month or I'm gonna lose it. So I'll be reading that. It's my first Agatha Christie book. I'm really excited. Hopefully it's as good as I think it's gonna be. And lastly, for July's Read Harder Reading Log Challenge, the challenge is to read an award-winning YA novel. And for that challenge, I have chosen The Girl Who Fell from the Sky. And this is a journey of a girl growing up in the 1980s. She's biracial, and she's just sort of trying to find her way in a world that is black and white. So I think that's going to be really intriguing. It did win an award. It won the Bellwether Prize for Fiction, so it fits the category. I don't actually know what the Bellwether Prize is, but it's an award, so that counts, right? I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Who has read The Outsider and watched the show? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about the show being an adaptation of the book, so I'm excited to see for myself, but I would love to know your thoughts on the subject as well. All right, book nerds, that's it for me, and as always, happy reading!